Hello everyone and welcome, Movie Man Chatty here with another movie review from the year 2017. Here are my thoughts, feelings, and opinion of the brand new biopic, I, Tonya. Of course, this is about the life of Tonya Harding, the very famous and infamous ice skater that was discovered by the world in the early 1990s because of what happened to her competitor, Nancy Kerrigan. In the film, Margot Robbie, who just, I believe, got nominated for this film for Best Actress, plays the title role. We also get to meet Allison Janney, who plays her overbearing mother. We also get to meet her ex-husband, played by Sebastian Stan, and her ex-bodyguard, played by an actor by the name of Paul Walter Hauser, among other people. There isn't even people that we get to meet, like the trainers and the people that interviewed them and stuff like that. But of course, the actors are playing all of this. All the people that I mentioned are playing this. So it's kind of weird because this movie is presented as a live-action narrative, but sometimes it's presented as a documentary, and other times it's presented kind of as news footage. So it's kind of all over the place. Now, I remember seeing the trailer to this film and being very excited because I'm interested in the subject matter. I remember when this all went down in the early 1990s, even though I don't know all the facts or all the details. But I like these actors. I was interested in what the movie's all about. And I like a good, interesting character study about something you just can't believe actually happened. You're just shocked, like, did this really all go down in this certain way? Now, it is a movie. It is based on a true story. And I think sometimes a movie presents itself in a certain way that, like, you question, like, is Tonya Harding all at fault? Is she the one to blame? Or are there other people to blame that are around her? Now, we get to meet her at a young age, and this movie is majority about her life leading up to the infamous thing, the incident, they call it the incident, that happened between her and Nancy Kerrigan, and of course between her and her husband, her ex-husband, and the bodyguard, and then people that were hired supposedly to hurt Nancy Kerrigan. And so there's all these things going on. I do like the movie that is presented kind of. I like the documentary aspect, but I think what's really strong about this movie is the camera work when it's in its regular movie mode, and it's a lot of handheld camera work, and we feel like we're really a part of this. At times, I felt like I was watching a movie like The Wrestler. No, not as good as The Wrestler, but kind of like that, the way it was presented at times. Though this movie is trying to be more, I think, more of like a comedy, and also at the same time trying to sympathize with what Tonya was actually going through at the time. I like the actors overall. I think they were all really pretty solid. Now, Allison Janney, I think, also got nominated for Best Supporting Actress. And I will say she did a really great job to be such a terrible mother. She'll probably go down in history. When they do top 10 lists for the worst terrible movie mothers, even though this one is based on a real mother, it's definitely going to be in the top 10 of like the worst movie mothers ever. Now, Margot Robbie is great in the movie. She's interesting and satisfying as an actress. You really believe her going through all these different emotions. She's fallen in love one minute, she's getting hit the next. She's going through all this tragedy of trying to perform well, and she's being successful in ice skating, and she's not. So Margot Robbie does a great job to show all these different kind of emotion. But there's one thing I didn't like about her performance, and I blame the special effects. There are times when it does look like that Margot Robbie is skating on the ice. I believe that she is skating on the ice some of the time. Other times it looks like they CGI'd her face onto another actress's body. And it was very distracting because it just looked it looked really slightly fake. Luckily, those scenes don't go on for very long, but they go on long enough that you notice that there's something just not right when Margot Robbie, as Tonya Harding, is doing all these amazing performing arts of ice skating and stuff like that. So that was very distracting. That was like the first sign that I wasn't digging this movie perfectly. I was hoping for it because I was so sold by the trailer, and I find that the story is just so fascinating and so mind-blowing that this actually happened, that these people were so dumb to think that they could get away with this or go through this. But I guess that's what makes for an interesting film to see this. And I've seen documentaries about Tonya Harding and about this whole story, and so a lot of this, of course, is not really new to me, but some of the stuff I saw the documentary a few years ago, so I haven't really remembered everything. I have to say my favorite performance of the entire film, and Margot Robbie is great, and I'm happy she got nominated. I don't think she'll win. I don't think it's like the greatest performance ever in the history of the Oscars or Best Actress, but it is a good performance. But I have to say the shining moment for me was the guy who plays the ex-bodyguard of her. He, just the stuff that was coming out of his mouth and his whole lifestyle and his whole perception on life was just so fascinating that I could have just seen a whole movie about this guy. I, Ex Bodyguard. I would have liked to have seen a movie called I, Ex Bodyguard, and just following this guy around and his adventures. I just thought his character, I wish there was more of him on screen. Now we do get to know a lot of the people that participated in the movie. We get to see all these performances, and it's nice. But the movie is a mixed bag. Sometimes it's very interesting. Other times it's kind of jaded and it kind of moves around too much and it's hard to get any emotional connection, even though there is a scene in the film that I teared up just a little bit. I thought Margot Robbie was doing a great job as she was pouring her heart as Tonya Harding and how much she loved to ice skate, and that was going to be ripped away from her. I thought that was probably her best scene in the movie and probably why she's nominated for an Academy Award. Very, very convincing. Overall, I just think this is a good standard biopic with some good filmmaking attached to it. I can't say the writing's that great, but the story overall is very interesting. You can't help but feel sorry for Tonya. You know, she's getting hit by her mother. She's getting hit by her husband. And it's just hard, to see a woman go through that. No, I don't care who you are, but no woman deserves that. Tonya Harding is a flawed individual. There's no doubt. But she did not deserve to be abused by her mother and be abused by her ex-husband. So those scenes were quite tough. Even though she does do some fighting back, it's still tough to watch that. But you imagine and you know that probably that's what happened in real life. But it comes down to who did what and who did this, and was Tonya Harding a part of it? I don't want. I think the movie is trying to say that she is probably a full victim of this whole situation, but she's probably got some things to blame. The people that you associate. Sometimes it's important who you associate with. I think that's important. So I think everybody who was a part of this real story has something to blame for what happened, and it's just tragic. It's sad how this all went down. It is happy to know that Tonya Harding seems to have a nice life now and is successful and can hopefully put this behind her. But as a biopic, as a movie, it is a good, solid film with some good, solid performances. I can't imagine that I would ever watch this movie again. I just can't. I've seen better films about interesting, weird, crazy, true people, true stories and stuff like that, that I feel like I would watch over again. I can't imagine watching this movie again, but I'm glad that I got a chance to finally see it. And I would give it a good, solid recommendation. I can't think... Oh, wait, I do want to... Yes. Also, another great thing about this movie is the soundtrack. Not the score. I don't remember the score or any means, but they just fit in a lot of amazing songs. And the majority of the movie takes place in the 90s, but I think I remember hearing songs from the 60s and 70s and 80s and some of the 90s. I just thought the soundtrack was awesome. It was just a great soundtrack. I don't know how it serviced the film at all, but it was fun to listen to that music as the movie was happening along. And I also do want to mention, going to the movies, it's very interesting to experience a film. And I did go with a dear friend of mine, but there was somebody that was sitting in front of us all by themselves, and they were snoring the whole time. I was like wondering, I know it's Tuesday, so it's like $6.75, I think, to see a movie, even though I did use MoviePass. Maybe this person, I think, just wanted... They didn't look like they were homeless or anything, but it was just really interesting. This guy was snoring the whole time, and then he was on his phone some of the time, and then when the movie was almost 20 minutes to its ending, he left. Anyways, that was my experience watching I, Tonya, which I thought was a good, decent, watchable biopic with some good, solid performances. And for that, I'm going to give I, Tonya, I'll give it a solid 3 stars out of 4.